with a wish for all beings to be free, free of the constriction and contraction from held belief systems and thought patterns, free from the automatic reactivity of learned and held emotional patterns, and free from the isolation and suffering caused by distorted perception. I will always go for refuge to alive, vibrant, radiant, spacious awareness until awareness is ongoing, like the flow of a river. Enthused by wisdom and compassion. Today, in the presence of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, of any lineage or none, and or any time or beyond time, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all beings. As long as space remains, as long as beings remain, may I manifest in such a way to ease and dispel the miseries in the universe. Oh, I guess I do have something coming up for today. And to start it, I think the way this practice is traditionally started, or some way in which we can bring our energy, which for many of us runs a lot in our, feels like it runs a lot in our, around our crown chakra, in our brain, if you will. Uh, to allow that energy to come down into our heart chakra. Where your heart chakra is where you feel that feeling, that warm waft of love that may go, it gets labeled love. It's very hard to describe, isn't it, when you experience it? Although most of us quite like it. It's where you experience that. There's a lot of talk in science and different places about where all this stuff happens. And I think the best way to experience things is to let them be where they are without trying to describe them so much or locate them so much in this kind of practice. So as you call up a memory, or perhaps you're just having one of those days where everything seems okay and you have nothing but love for the world and love maybe for yourself, as you are part of the world. Kind of silly how sometimes we remove ourselves and then we try to love everything else. Kind of silly. We can use just a breath method of breathing in, taking in. There are many different ways to do this, but how about we do it this way today? We take in all the wisdom and compassion of those who have gone before us, are present with us now, and will arise in the future. all those who are free from the hold of conceptual patterns, reactive emotions, and distorted perceptions, are not held and confined by those, though they may still arise. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of any time. And we take in the wisdom and love present that they have recognized as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, we can feel that wisdom and love running through our body as it does through every vein and artery. Probably more veins. We're getting the good stuff in. We can feel that love and compassion and wisdom touching every cell in our body, allowing every cell to heal and be freshly in this moment. And at the same time as we breathe out, we can allow all that love and compassion to come from us out into the world, touching all beings. Our lungs are located where our lungs are located. I think we're all human form in here today. So as we take that breath in, we can feel it coming down into our lungs, which surround our heart chakra. Then breathe out and let that warmth and wisdom and love, compassion, touch us and every being in the universe. If you happen to be having one of those days where you are full of love, wisdom, and compassion, you can reverse this in a way and breathe in. Well, first allow yourself to experience it. And then breathe in the suffering in the world caused by our distorted perceptions, our conceptual patterns. You don't have to put a name to it. We're all aware of it. The suffering of samsara. We can breathe that in and allow that to break the self-focus, the self-centeredness of how we view the world mostly. That protection we have around our heart in an effort not to be hurt anymore. When we realize experientially we can breathe in that everyone is hurt. There isn't a being in this universe that has not been hurt. We can breathe that in, not to hold, but to break through that barrier between us, I, and everyone else, and allow our hearts to open. And when we breathe out to ourselves and all beings, we breathe out the connectedness, the open-heartedness, the compassion beyond emotion, the isness of what truly is. may notice that the experience of what is inside I and what is outside everything else, those sharp lines start to wobble. Whether you hold or experience the loving presence of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as something you have breathed in from the outside, or something that is always present as a part of you, that you can visualize or experience inside, makes no difference. Just what is more comfortable with your experience of this moment. And take a moment to do this. Breaths in and out. And we can add the mantra to that. The mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. Simple and short mantra. As we take in an in-breath, we can take in the mantra as the sound of the universe, the sound of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of any lineage. So we take in a breath. Om Mani Padme Hum. Let it touch our heart. And as we breathe out, we send out Om Mani Padme Hum. Same with the light of the universe. Whether you experience that in this moment as the light from the rays of the sun that allow us to see everything. Without light also allows the warmth in the universe, without which we could not exist. And we can bring in that light, the light rays that are said, and the sound, vibration that are said to have been the spark of life in the universe. We can breathe in that clear light, warm light, luminosity. And we can allow that to fill our heart until our heart is no different than that warm, luminous light and vibration sound. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. As we rest here together, what occurred is to take a moment, maybe our projection, maybe our experience, and allow ourselves to feel different circumstances than what we are experiencing. For a moment, imagine that you were raised, you may have been, in a home of danger. You were raised in a home of violence. Perhaps a home where The most important part of that home was drugs. A home where you were not the most important thing. And imagine, without words, coming into such a world with what every being comes into this world with, the instinct to survive, not noticed, not known in words. And as this little being, you started to fight to get what you needed without words and understanding. That you simply cried when you were hungry or uncomfortable because of a very full diaper. Sometimes somebody responded, sometimes they didn't. And you had, without words, no way of knowing what really would happen. But still with that basic survival instinct. Then allow yourself to age in that home without security, without a sense of that quality of love, of being so cared for. Without safety, simply reacting as best you could to try to survive. And the stories you might make about the world around you. When you learned words. And you learned often that words were used to attack. And you rest as best in this moment, breathing in the light, vibration, and sound of the universe. And breathing out that same love, compassion, and wisdom to all beings. If you had been brought in a world of danger, violence, this would be hard to find. Not impossible. All of us began as dependent, confused, not totally unformed, certainly some patterns. And then we did the best we could to survive. And feel that for a moment with this breathing in the heart. Using your own imagination, maybe we'll be quiet for a little bit. I'll give a couple of examples. Of the very environment physically you were raised in, you came into the world in. Are you in a culture where beings support each other? What if you were brought into a culture where You were just a part of the earth and the beings on the earth. And the earth is what provided sustenance, supported life for all life. And you were taught that and could feel and experience that connectedness with the earth and the connectedness with all the beings that share that earth and are supported by that earth. And there were dances and ceremonies to support that way of being. What might that feel like? Maybe shift to one where there's very strict religious beliefs of good and bad. And the focus was on not allowing evil, which was probably already in you anyway, fighting against that evil and all the rules that you were taught to be a good person so that you wouldn't be punished. Just rest a little bit right there in that environment. Wouldn't have known all the rules when you came in. And your culture supported those rules. Because this culture was somewhat similar, there became a feeling of safety about those rules. If we all behave this way, we'll all be all right together. Then imagine, as this is happening in our world at a faster and faster rate, all the things that contradict that, and all the people moving from place to place, and people that did not share that system, that cultural belief, coming in and disrupting your culture that was safe because they didn't know the rules. Imagine how you might feel. Your rules might say that you need to be kind and care for your neighbor, but your neighbors don't have that belief. And you're getting exhausted trying to follow your own rules. Trying hard, but finding edges of anger and insecurity. And not much space. Crowding. Perhaps you're in a city. not a huge one that felt safe. And now it doesn't feel safe anymore. So many people, so much noise, so many different ideas. Now we can take a breath in. And we can breathe out. The love and wisdom, compassion, wisdom, offering it to all beings. Then just for a moment, shift again my experience lately to a land of vast spaciousness, beauty and danger, long winters of darkness, long summers of constant light, incredible vast spaciousness, mountains, water, lakes, rivers, abundant wildlife everywhere. You might not have a neighbor for miles. You're raised to learn to be aware of what's around you. Be aware of what life there is around you. Be aware of the change in climate that might happen suddenly. Be aware of how to use everything around you to help your survival, to make your own clothes, to survive through winters of darkness, cold, snow and ice and storms. And then to learn to gather whatever you could in the light of summer, spring and summer and fall, to help you survive that dark, cold winter. Not so concerned about what other humans were doing. Dependent on other humans sometimes. All of you aware of how fragile life really is. A sense of how small you really are in this world of incredible space, mountains, powerful rivers, never taking safety for granted, never thinking you were bigger than the earth and natural arisings. Environment matters. And when you have time to do this on your own, if you choose this, imagine all the different environments that your imagination can reach for and what it might be like. What that might be like if it was threatened by too many humans, threatened by, there's always something threatening in our world. Even if we perceive eventually that it's our constricted thoughts, our reactive emotions, the sensations that arise from those, and life itself. And then all the stories we make about it that cause our perceptions. And allow yourself to move from different, in your imagination or physically if you're able, to different environments. Imagine being in one of those positions, maybe a college professor, where you're in charge. You can make that on any level. Then imagine being thrown into an environment where you had no charge, no power. You were the one who became terrified by everything around you. And then if we go one step further, let's imagine that whatever it is that each of us, and we do almost certainly, hold on to, have we made what we think is a secure home? Have we gotten comfortable with what we have around us? There's nothing wrong with that. Do we imagine that we're safe? What are we safe from when we imagine that? And maybe that sense of security that is based on our surroundings, our environment, gets shaken. Your home, your safe home, somebody breaks in and steals everything that they find of value there. And then just for the hell of it, they trash the rest. And we feel outrage, fear, anger. Of course, we can breathe that in. Yes, we do feel that. With an open heart. Ouch, yes, it hurts. And we can breathe out to our own experience. We can breathe out all the love, safety, sense of okayness that we've ever experienced. And perhaps we can, for a moment, stop running from our own experience. And even if it's just our imagination, imagine circumstances where we might be driven to steal, to destroy just for the sense of being able to. And how that might feel. We can breathe in the fear and anger that might be experienced if we were in those shoes. Into that spacious open-heartedness. When we breathe out, we can breathe out comfort, simply comfort that we have all experienced in our lives. Until perhaps at some point, not good or bad, not right or wrong, our heart simply opens to all experience. That constant judgment of ourselves and others becomes impossible to find. We may have a deep gratitude for whatever has occurred in our experience of life that has allowed our heart to open, that has allowed us to look in a different direction, than perhaps what we felt our culture taught us, our family taught us. And then we made our own. We can't force this. But we can come again and again to, instead of automatically protecting ourselves from the suffering, our own, which we run from, and the suffering in the world that we perceive, till we stop running and simply offer what occurs to us to offer. Not to fix anything, and we may notice that sometimes our wish to make an us and a them is to avoid our own suffering. Make our world a little safer. We may start to experience the lack of safety in samsara, no matter how hard we try. In the end, we can't take any of that safety with us, and it can be taken away at any moment if it's external. When we can breathe that in, something may open, and perhaps we can stop running, at least for some moments. And within that, we can recognize what really can't be described. Maybe for a minute we'll experience that we're simply a blip in time. What we think is so important because it's us in this moment is a blip in time, and life arises and dissolves again and again and again in infinite manifestations. In a universe that's bigger than our imagination can even begin to get a hold of. A universe that used to be considered void, a vacuum. Space. And yet we perceive light. Even with our limited eye organ, light in the stars, If you're lucky enough to be away from city lights for a while, you'll see the depth of stars, which is staggering in the night sky. Light shining through our universe. And you may start to feel a vibration, very subtle. Don't have to describe it. Perhaps carried on those light waves. And now found in science. There seems to be a sound or vibration that permeates our universe. There can be a relaxation that starts to happen with that experiencing. If we can now, in some ways, seem to see time all the way back to almost to the Big Bang, where is the now? Is all of that happening now, even though we put time as a concept upon it? Perhaps we'll have a glimpse from a teacher from somewhere of the words aren't accurate, vast openness of the universe. The vast spaciousness in which everything arises and dissolves. Maybe for a moment, everything falls away. We are just a part of that in this moment. Never separate, never isolated. Never limited. We are that vastness. We are all the manifestation that dances within it. And then most of us will get a little nervous and we'll put ourselves back together again. No, wait, I am me. And I better do something to control this world or find something to hold on to. And maybe we can just smile. And sometimes we'll scream. And sometimes we'll want things to be different so that we could feel safe, so that all beings could feel safe and loved. And if we could, if we would make that happen. Just before we go, we might have a feeling of, oddly, at least maybe I could stop bringing hate, anger, acted out anger. Maybe before I speak, I might be able to pause and not offer more poison into our universe. It's an incredible intention. And not a one of us will be perfect. What do we want to bring to this vast universe? Perhaps the wisdom and compassion that is in each of us, that is us, including some wisdom and compassion for this body that thinks it's so very individual. Will it change the world, this intention? Well, I don't know. Probably not if we're trying to force the world to change. Something shifts. And this particular being, who is all of us together in this meeting, is out of words. But with such appreciation and gratitude to each of you for being here today. Whatever glimpse or moment of shift or opening or connection might have allowed our heart to relax for a moment. May we not grasp onto it. Try to figure it out. Try to figure out how to make it work so then we could feel safe. Try to do anything at all with moments of openness. other than to let them be as they are, with the wish that they expand into the universe, touching all beings. May all beings have opportunities for such moments of openness. May all beings be free of distorted perception. Thank you all so much, and I will see you the next time I see you.